Thanks for staying with us. We move on to the other big story of the day. And this is one case and one story, viewers, that just keeps getting more and more intriguing and interesting. Right from day one, the Antilia bomb scare case then went on to become a bomb scare case and a murder case with Mansukh Hiran being allegedly murdered. Then it went on to become a case with one of Mumbai's most high-profile cops involved, Sachin Waze. Then it became a case about extortion and corruption, as the Mumbai police's own began to speak up about what's going on. It even led to the resignation of Maharashtra Minister Anil Deshmukh. At every stage through February and March, there was one massive twist after the other. And it was astounding the way the details were coming out. The mess, the rot within some parts of the Mumbai police, the connections and the nexus with the politicians, the alleged extortion racket that was going on, a murder plot, and in all of this, somebody attempting to place some gelatin sticks next to Mukesh Ambani's house. And here is the latest twist. Just like Sachin Waze, who was handling so many high-profile cases in Mumbai, was at one point of time famous for being an ace shooter. From that era, there was another cop there who was extremely famous. He was known as the encounter specialist, Pradeep Sharma. In fact, they're all from the same time and rose to a celebrity kind of a status in the same time. Pradeep Sharma was arrested by the NIA today. He had quit the police force, joined the Shiv Sena in 2019. He even fought elections, lost elections. So the encounter specialist turned Neta or a failed Neta is now an accused in a murder plot in the custody of the National Investigative Agency. Why is he with the NIA? Let's find out. Sandhya Gora joins me with those details. Sandhya, tell us, how did they land up at Pradeep Sharma's doorstep after all these weeks?
So, Tanvi, NIA since the very beginning did have a hint that Pradeep Sharma had something to do with the case. Now, remember, you were telling our viewers that how Sachin Waze and Pradeep Sharma, they were from the same era, they enjoyed the same celebrity sort of a status for being infamous as an encounter specialist. So, Pradeep Sharma was actually, in a way, we can call him Sachin Waze's guru. He was Sachin Waze had worked under him for a very long time period, and till date Sachin Waze was in touch with Pradeep Sharma. So as I said, in the month of April, in the first week of April, NIA did question Pradeep Sharma, but at that time NIA did not reveal anything. NIA said that it's just a routine questioning to gather some information about the case, but we all knew there was something more to it, because Pradeep Sharma, who resigned from the force in 2019 itself, cannot have anything to do with the case in the capacity of a cop, obviously. But NIA at that time did not spill any beans. But now, recently, NIA made two arrests. Santosh Shelar and Anand Jadhav, two people were arrested by NIA, and these two people actually, according to NIA, in the interrogation told that how, along with Sachin Waze, Pradeep Sharma is also involved in the case. Now, today, NIA lawyer told Mumbai NIA court that how Pradeep Sharma and Sachin Waze gave instructions to four people, that includes two recently arrested accused, that is Anand Jadhav and Santosh Shelar, and two people who have been arrested today, that is Satish and Manish. All these four people killed Mansukh Hiran on instructions of Pradeep Sharma and Sachin Waze. Both Sharma and Waze paid these four people to kill Mansukh Hiran. And once these four people killed Mansukh Hiran and dumped the body, all four of them, they called both Pradeep Sharma and Sachin Waze to tell that the job was done. Once NIA had these evidences, that's exactly how they landed at the doorstep of Pradeep Sharma. Today morning, they started searching his residence, his office, and later in the day, he was arrested and produced in the court along with two more people. Tanvi.
All right, Santya, thanks so much for getting us all of those details. Extremely interesting. You say that he was on the radar for a while, but it's the recent arrest that seemed to have given the fillip to the investigators to reach Pradeep Sharma's doorstep. Well, we'll find out more details as the NIA begins to reveal them in the court. So far, this is a limited part that we do know. But here's the interesting part, right? There's Sachin Vaze, former assistant police inspector, arrested for murder of Mansukh Hiran. Once upon a time, ace shooter, part of this entire encounter brigade, came back to the police force, seen to be close to the Shiv Sena, in fact got reinstated during the current government's tenure, was given high-profile case after high-profile case. Then, of course, there is also Parambir Singh, the former police commissioner who got shunted out when this whole Sachin Vaze Mumbai anti-law case exploded. And he was shunted out. He then spoke up and he accused the Maharashtra minister of all the corruption, which then further led to many, many questions about what's going on. And now there is Pradeep Sharma, an ex-encounter specialist, arrested for, again, Hiran's murder and allegedly conspiring and plotting. Let's bring in some more details. Mr. Ketan Vaidya, political analyst, joins us this evening. Girish Kuber, editor for Lok Satta, and Rahul Narvekar, MLA for Kolaba and spokesperson of the BJP in Maharashtra, joins us this evening. Girish, I want to start off with you.
Yeah.
Many would ask this question, well, how come after so many months did they figure out this connection? Does it seem to be politically motivated, or does it make sense? They were both from the same era, extremely close, and perhaps worked on this together.
I think it makes sense. There is no political angle we can find or talk about. Why it makes sense? Because Pradeep Sharma and Parambir, they have traveled together almost like at every post, whatever big assignment or the designation Mr. Parambir Singh was appointed with. Pradeep Sharma has always been part of it. So there is definitely some kind of a connection that police must have, or NIA must have taken time to probe on that. And so finally, once they have some kind of an evidence, strong connection, they had their hands on Mr. Sharma. But here I would like to make one point very clear is that for our viewers, there is nothing like what we call encounter specialist. There is no classification of police or the officers or the so-called efficient, smart officers who can be described as encounter specialists. Encounter specialists are nothing but thugs in uniform. That we should be absolutely clear about. And that's how they got their prominence, they got their fame and then extrajudicial authority to kill whoever is criminal according to them. So this is a seriously wrong practice. Unfortunately, it started, why I'm saying unfortunately, because there is a good name associated with this kind of killing. That was Mr. Ribeiro in early 80s and 90s. After that, it went completely out of control, and police officers who were smart enough to have a political connection, they started misusing it. And it goes with that, when in the history, if you look at when Arun Gowli was touted as Hindu Dawn, or as a Hindu's reply to Dawood Ibrahim, you can imagine the kind of criminalization of the police or the police force it has taken, or kind of a deep-rooted malice in that. So that's how it started. And now when Pradeep Sharma is arrested, I hope it ends at some logical conclusion, because there is too much of talk about rot in the cops and rot in the system and kind of thing, but nothing goes beyond that. And I hope this Pradeep Sharma's arrest will establish something. Because why hope? Because there is nothing we can be sure of. Because Parambir Singh now, BJP would like to, BJP spokesperson is in the show. I'm sure he will throw some light. Why Parambir Singh was given long rope by the BJP? That's also the question we should be asking. So I hope there is some kind of an end to it. Otherwise the same thing will continue. There will be some other killing. There will be some other cop, and there will be some other scam.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
you're right about one part, that it's not just that suddenly these guys became extremely powerful now. They seem to have survived and thrived in the system, irrespective of who's come into power and gone out of power. I mean, one would assume that somebody who was, very active and visible in the 90s wouldn't have this kind of power now, especially if you've dabbled in politics, not worked, been successful, and still, here is where you are allegedly so deeply entrenched. Rahul Narvekar, this is extremely concerning if indeed these allegations are true. One after the other, these cops who seem to be involved in extortion, murder, conspiracy, and whatnot.
Well, at the outset, let me tell you, I welcome this action by the NIA of arresting rogue cop, former cop, Pradeep Sharma, and the entire gang. Though it is too late and too little, because these people have destroyed so many lives, they have extorted so many common citizens, and they have been goons in uniform. And that's unfortunate that, a police force which is considered to be one of the best forces in the world, the Mumbai police, is facing a scenario like this thanks to a handful corrupt corrupt officials like Pradeep Sharma, Vaze, etc., etc. Number two, we were just someone was talking about giving BJP giving a long rope to certain officers. Let me tell you, these officers were not appointed during the BJP regime. These officers were handpicked by NCP bosses and by Shiv Sena bosses. So if at all there is anyone who should be answerable for their actions, it's the NCP and the Shiv Sena. Number three, let me complete. Number three, let me tell you, these people act so blatantly and act with no fear, not on their own accord. They do it because they have political patronage. They do it because they have political protection. Now, let me give you a small example. An officer like Vaze, who was suspended after the orders of the Honorable High Court, gets reinstated in 2019 under the garb of COVID. He's not given any field duty. He's not been posted at any chowki to ensure that people don't break lockdown. But he is sent to head the CIU unit. He supersedes two officers. A suspended officer supersedes two officers who are way more senior than him and has been given that responsibility. What does this smack of? This smacks of complete political interference in police investigation.
These were all functioning and operating under a police commissioner who's been extremely close to them, moved along with them, who was not given all this power by the current government.
Sorry?
Parambir Singh was not given all the power by the current government. These guys managed to do whatever they did, if they did, under the watch of Parambir Singh. So what about the BJP's accountability?
Who appointed Parambir Singh as soon as they came to power?
I think Mr. Narvekar, you are wrong.
Become the police commissioner of Mumbai? He could have been picked up by the last regime, but the last regime didn't do that. As soon as Shiv Sena, NCP came to power, they handpicked Parambir Singh. So if anyone who should be asked questions about his appointment is the Shiv Sena and the NCP.
Mr. Ketan Vaidya, do you agree? Mr. Ketan Vaidya, do you agree?
There is little twist in the tail, actually. I just need to clarify. Parambir Singh was out of the way promoted by the BJP, and that's how he got into the ranks of the Mumbai Police Commission. That was the BJP's thing. No one can deny that. It's a fact.
No. You get your facts clear. He was appointed as Commissioner of Police Mumbai City after 2019 when the Sena and the NCP
No, he's not talking about the timeline. That everybody knows. It's about how he reached there. Ketan Vaidya wants to come in. Can we hear him as well? Let Ketan...
Officer, he had to be given some posting.
Mr. Narvekar,
you couldn't have kept him at home unless he was asked to be kept at home by some orders of
Mr.
the court.
Narvekar, you will only find out what others have to say if you allow them to speak. Can I please hear Ketan Vaidya now? Yes.
Typical credit Pradeep Sharma or Sachin Vaze and inducting them in their party, or giving credence to Sadhvi Pradnya Singh. We have to accept that there is rank politicization, when it comes to law and judiciary, and in this case, really about Parambir Singh, he straight away went to Supreme Court alleging that the Home Minister was indulging in corruption, and the Honorable Supreme Court guided him to the High Court. So you have to see that things are more murkier than they appear, and I'm sure that what doesn't smack of politics. findings because NIA tomorrow is a court of law. So NIA which are
Ketan, there seems to be a problem with your line. I apologize, but we're not able to properly hear you. Let's see if we can try and fix that. Mr. Girish Kuber, back to you while I fix that line with Ketan. Yes.
Yeah, so the point is that there is no single party which can claim to be honest about when it comes to handling of police.
Correct.
There is no single party. I mean, you have BJP, even former police commissioner was inducted into the BJP, was fielded in somewhere in Uttar Pradesh, and he's now BJP MP. So the politicization of any police, not only Mumbai police, any police. See what happened in Uttar Pradesh. Who killed that thug? I mean, he was the kind of the way he was killed. There is an issue about it, and because of the caste, because of the other issues, and the full day in broad daylight he was killed, and there is no proof, there is nothing, there is no action on that. So my point is that it's a complete politicization of police force. So only way could be taking them away from the respective governments. There has to be some kind of an arrangement. They report to for administrative purpose. They may be part of the state machinery, but there has to be some kind of an arrangement, which is like in the US. There is an independent judicial authority. When BJP interestingly was in opposition, they were the first to demand autonomy to CBI. Have they even tried to do that last 7 years? What's happening? No one wants to do that because everyone wants to use maybe police or CBI or ED for their own political gains. And that's exactly what's happening in Maharashtra, which is now bringing out all the dirt to the fore. But underneath, every party is having some kind of a nexus with cops or misuse the police force. No one can claim absolute kind of a cleanliness as far as handling the police is concerned.
Okay, let me see if I can go back to Ketan Vaidya on this. Ketan Vaidya, political parties need to take responsibility, not just one but all, for the way, for the state of the police force, for the rot that exists even within the Mumbai police force today.
See, globally, I mean, human rights reports don't call them encounter cops. Like Mr. Kuber pointed out, they are called rust cops, and these kind of killings are called extrajudicial killings. So right from the earlier Sena BJP government of the early 95, when all this started till now, one has to see all this in perspective. And to establish a rule of law, this rank politicization of the police force should stop, because there are allegations that allegedly Parambir Singh is doing this at the behest of the BJP. Or Rashmi Shukla, who tapped the phones, allegedly tapped the phones of other senior police officials. She is also in the talks. So it shouldn't be my police versus your police. It should be law and order and giving the citizens an assurance that their safety and security will be guaranteed with any government that is in power.
Okay, that Rahul Navekar, last word to you before I wrap this up.
Well, I'm a little amazed that Mr. Ketan Vaidya prefers to take action and talk about Rashmi Shukla, but the revelation that the scam about taking money for postings, promotions, he prefers to keep quiet about those things. He wants to get after Rashmi Shukla, who probably was a catalyst to unearthing this entire scam. But he doesn't want to talk about the scam itself. That shows volumes about the intention of the party that he perhaps sympathizes with. And their approach is not far from what Mr. Ketan Vaidya's approach is. That worries me. It's not the violence of the few, it's the silence of the many that bothers the citizens of this country today.
Okay, completely out of time, but this case is far from over. I don't know what else will tumble out of the closet in terms of information, arrests, more twists and turns, but definitely there is a lot more to come. Big thank you to all three of you for joining us. Viewers, I think there's something that Girish Kuber also mentioned, which is a big concern for me. It is that cops like these who believe that they are more than policemen, or even if they're more than a failed politician. The concern is where cops who at one point may have been glorified as encounter specialists believe that they can get away with whatever they want to. It was a classic example of how Sachin was conducting himself. If he indeed plotted, attempted to plant those gelatin sticks next to Mukesh Ambani's house, went himself to check it out, then plotted and got a murder carried out of a man who was linked to that car and that case, and several other things. It shows that he somewhere believed nobody would question him or save him. Now, if he had a helping hand there, and if that helping hand was Pradeep Sharma, then it's the same thing. And it's a massive concern. The people seem to believe they can get away with anything. They can get away with murder in this country for whatever reasons. Let's wait and watch how this pans out. And at the end of the day, what is it that the NIA has really found that can be used as evidence to prove this case? Thank you for joining us.